Lieutenant Do-hyun Park stood at his observation window on the Galactic Research Institute's space station, staring at the purple-gray planet below. His dark eyes reflected the strange color of planet XO394, a world that had already claimed the lives of 12 alien researchers. The planet's surface readings showed temperatures that switched between extremely hot and terribly cold, with acid rain and storms that could tear through metal. "Lieutenant Park, the Council is ready for your report," said his assistant through the communication system. Do-hyun adjusted his uniform and picked up his data pad. He had discovered something on that deadly planet, something that would change everything. As he walked through the clean, white corridors of the station, other alien scientists moved out of his way. Some looked at him with curiosity, others with concern. Humans were still new to the galactic community, and many species found it strange that they came from what the galaxy called a death world. The council chamber was a large, circular room with tall windows showing the stars. 5 alien council members sat at raised desks, looking down at him. Chief Researcher Verthak, a tall being with silvery skin and 4 arms, spoke first. "Lieutenant Park, we understand you have found something unusual on XO394. Please explain why you think it's worth risking more lives." Do-hyun connected his data pad to the room's display system. The 3-dimensional image appeared in the center of the room, showing a massive structure half buried in the planet's surface. 3 days ago, our deep scanning equipment detected this structure, Do-hyun said, keeping his voice calm and professional. "It's approximately 2 kilometers long and 1 kilometer high. The interesting part is that it's made of materials we've never seen before." Verthak leaned forward, all 4 of his eyes focusing on the image. "Impossible. Our scanners have mapped that entire region multiple times." "Yes, they have," Do-hyun agreed. "But they didn't find it because it was hidden by some kind of technology. The structure only became visible after the last acid storm changed the planet's magnetic field." He touched his data pad, and the image zoomed in to show more detail. The structure had smooth walls that seemed to shine even under the planet's dark clouds. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with a faint blue light. "We believe this is a building left by an ancient civilization," Do-hyun continued. "The energy readings from inside are off the charts. Whatever's in there, it's still working after who knows how many thousands or millions of years." One of the other council members, a being made mostly of floating gas, moved forward. "How did your scanners detect this when ours did not?" "Human scanning technology developed differently because of Earth's conditions," Do-hyun explained. "Our planet's magnetic field and atmospheric interference forced us to create more sensitive equipment." He showed them more images, close-ups of the entrance area, energy readings, and temperature scans. The council members whispered among themselves, their various alien languages mixing together in the air. "There's something else," Do-hyun said, taking a deep breath. "We detected what appears to be a defense system around the structure. It creates conditions that are deadly to every known species. The system appears designed to keep out any living thing." Chief Verthak's silver skin rippled with concern. "Then we must declare the site completely off-limits. We cannot risk." "With all respect," Do-hyun interrupted, "I don't think that's the right decision. Look at these readings." He brought up a new set of data. "The defense system creates conditions very similar to certain places on Earth. Extreme heat like our deserts, intense cold like our poles, high pressure like our deep oceans, and radiation levels like those found in some of our natural hot springs." The council chamber went completely quiet. Do-hyun could feel all their alien eyes on him as they began to understand what he was suggesting. "Lieutenant Park," Verthak said slowly, "are you suggesting that humans might be able to survive these defenses?" "I'm suggesting more than that," Do-hyun replied, standing straighter. "I'm suggesting that maybe this isn't a defense system at all. Maybe it's a test, and maybe humans are uniquely qualified to pass it." The silence in the room grew deeper. Outside the windows, the purple-gray planet continued its slow spin, holding its ancient secrets. But not for much longer, if Du Hyun had anything to say about it. "I request permission to lead an expedition to the surface," he said firmly. "Let's find out what's inside that structure." Dr. Hae-Nul Kim sat in her laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from the mysterious structure on XO 394. Her eyes were tired from hours of studying the readings, but she couldn't stop. Not when they were so close to understanding something this important. The door slid open, and Du Hyun walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You need to rest," he said, placing 1 cup next to her. "Look at this first," Hae-Nul said, pointing to one of the displays. "I've analyzed the defense system's energy patterns. It's not random at all. Each layer creates a specific type of deadly environment." Do Hyun pulled up a chair and sat next to her. The blue light from the displays reflected off their faces as Hae-Nul brought up more detailed scans. "The first layer is extreme heat, about 50 degrees Celsius," she explained, touching the display to zoom in. "That's like Death Valley on Earth during summer. The second layer is intense cold, minus 40 degrees Celsius. The third layer has radiation levels similar to what we find in some natural hot springs in Japan. And all these conditions exist naturally on Earth?" Du Hyun asked, though he already knew the answer. Hae-Nul nodded. "Yes. Humans have visited and even lived in places with similar conditions. Not all at once, of course, but we've adapted to survive in each type of environment." She brought up another display showing the results of their latest probe test. The machine had made it only 10 meters past the structure's entrance before it stopped working. All 23 probes they had sent met the same fate. The alien research teams that tried to enter didn't even make it past the first layer. Hae-Nul continued. "Their environmental suits failed immediately. Even their most advanced protective technology couldn't handle the combined conditions." Do Hyun took a sip of his coffee, thinking, "Have you told the council about these findings?" "Not yet. I wanted to be absolutely sure." Hae-Nul turned to face him. "Du Hyun, I think you're right. This isn't just a defense system. It's more like a filter. It's designed to keep out species that haven't evolved to handle extreme conditions." Just then, the laboratory door opened again. Chief Verthak entered, his silver skin glowing under the laboratory lights. Behind him came 3 other alien scientists, each carrying complex scanning equipment. "Dr. Kim," Verthak said, his voice formal. "We've reviewed Lieutenant Park's proposal to explore the structure. The council has concerns." Hae-Nul stood up. "Chief Verthak, I was just about to submit my analysis. The defense system creates conditions that would kill any rational species," Verthak interrupted. "We've lost too many researchers already. We cannot allow humans to attempt this suicide mission." Do Hyun stepped forward. "With respect, Chief, the conditions aren't as deadly to humans as they are to other species. We've evolved on a planet that regularly tries to kill us. We've adapted." Verthak's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Lieutenant Park, your species' famous stubbornness is not a sufficient reason to risk your life. Our calculation shows 0 chance of survival. Your calculations are based on your species' limitations, not ours," Hae-Nul said firmly. She pulled up new displays showing human survival records in extreme conditions. "Humans have climbed Mount Everest without oxygen supplies. We've survived in the hottest deserts and the coldest poles. We've explored radioactive sites and lived to study them." The alien scientists moved closer to examine the data, their expressions showing mixtures of disbelief and concern. "What you call a death trap," Du Hyun said quietly, "might just be a door. And humans might have the key to open it." Verthak studied the displays for a long moment. Finally, he turned all 4 eyes to Du Hyun. "You truly believe you can survive these conditions?" "I do," Du Hyun replied. "And Dr. Kim's analysis supports this. We're not being reckless. We're following the evidence." The laboratory fell silent except for the soft hum of equipment. Outside the window, the purple-gray planet turned slowly, its ancient structure waiting to be explored. After what seemed like forever, Verthak spoke again. "The Council will need to see all of this data," he said. "And if we approve this attempt, we will need a full plan. Every detail, every precaution, every possible scenario covered." Henul and Du-hyun looked at each other, hope growing in their eyes. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. It was a chance. Ji-woo Lee worked rapidly at his computer station in the station's main research lab. Screens filled with data about Earth's most extreme environments surrounded him. As the team's environmental specialist, he had spent the last week gathering every piece of information about human survival in deadly conditions. "The Council wants another meeting," Du-hyun said as he entered the lab. He looked tired but determined. "They're still worried about the mission." Ja-woo turned away from his screens. "I think I have something that might help convince them. Come look at this." Do-hyun walked over to Ji-woo's workstation. The main screen showed a map of Earth with several locations marked in red. "These are places where humans live and work every day," Ji-woo explained. "Death Valley, where temperatures reach 50 degrees Celsius. Oymyakon in Russia, where it gets down to minus 60 degrees Celsius. The Danakil Desert in Ethiopia, where acid pools are common. Places that would kill most alien species instantly." Do-hyun nodded slowly. "And the defense system creates similar conditions." "Almost exactly the same," Ji-woo confirmed. "It's as if whoever built that structure studied Earth's harshest environments and copied them. Or maybe," he paused, thinking, "maybe Earth and their home world were similar." The lab door opened again, and Hae-Newell entered carrying a large box. "The special equipment just arrived from Earth," she said, placing the box on a nearby table. "Everything we asked for." They gathered around as Hae-Newell opened the box. Inside was a collection of surprisingly simple items: special clothing made for extreme weather, boots designed for harsh conditions, and basic monitoring equipment. "That's all?" Do-hyun asked, picking up one of the lightweight shirts. "The Council expects us to use heavy protective suits." Hae-Newell smiled. "That's exactly why their probes and teams failed. They tried to fight the conditions with technology. We're going to work with them instead." Ja-woo pulled up another screen showing human biological data. "Our bodies can handle more than most species think possible. We sweat to cool down, shiver to warm up. We can adjust to radiation levels that would harm other species. We're not delicate." "Speaking of not being delicate," Hae-Newell said, "the medical team finished their latest tests. Do-hyun, your body is in perfect condition for this mission. Better than we hoped, actually." Do-hyun picked up more items from the box, examining each one carefully. "Simple solutions," he said quietly, "just like how our ancestors survived on Earth." The room's main screen suddenly lit up with an incoming message. Chief Verthak's face appeared, all four eyes focused intently. "Lieutenant Park," he said, "the Council has reviewed your latest data. We have made our decision." The three humans stood together, waiting. The silence felt heavy in the air. "We still believe this mission is extremely dangerous," Verthak continued. "However, Dr. Kim's analysis and Mr. Lee's research about human adaptability is compelling. The Council has voted to approve the mission with conditions." Do-hyun let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Thank you, Chief. What are the conditions?" "You will have 24 hours to complete the mission. You must maintain constant communication. If we lose contact for more than 5 minutes, we will send in emergency retrieval drones. And," Verthak paused, his silver skin rippling with concern, "you must understand that if anything goes wrong, we cannot send other species to help you. You will be completely alone in there." "Understood," Do-hyun said firmly. "When can we begin?" "The mission is scheduled for tomorrow at first light. Please complete your preparations." Verthak's image flickered. "And Lieutenant, good luck. The Council hopes your species' unique abilities prove useful. We would very much like to understand what secrets that structure holds. The screen went dark. Hae-Nul, Ji-Woo, and Do-Hyun looked at each other, the reality of tomorrow's mission sinking in. Well, Ji-Woo said, turning back to his data screens, let's make sure we're ready. We have a lot of work to do before morning. Do-Hyun nodded, picking up the special clothing from the box. Tomorrow, they would find out if being a Deathworlder was truly an advantage. Tomorrow, they would discover if humans could do what no other species had managed. Tomorrow, they would either make history or become another warning about the dangers of planet XO394. The morning of the mission arrived with the purple-gray planet XO394 looming large in the observation windows. The station's main hangar was filled with monitoring equipment and worried alien scientists. Do-Hyun stood near the shuttle that would take him to the surface, wearing the special clothing they had prepared. All systems are ready, Hae-Nul said, checking the final readings on her tablet. She tried to keep her voice steady, but Do-Hyun could hear her concern. The monitoring equipment is working perfectly. Ji-Woo approached with a small device, attaching it to Do-Hyun's collar. This will track your vital signs and location. We'll know immediately if anything changes. He paused, looking at his friend. Are you absolutely sure about this? Yes, Do-Hyun replied simply. He looked around the hangar at the gathered alien scientists. Many of them had lost colleagues to previous attempts at reaching the structure. Their faces showed a mixture of fear, curiosity, and something that looked like hope. Chief Verithak moved forward, his silver skin reflecting the hangar lights. Lieutenant Park, this is your final chance to reconsider. No one would think less of you for choosing safety. Thank you, Chief, Do-Hyun said. But I'm ready. We need to know what's inside that structure. And I believe humans are meant to find out. The ride down to the planet's surface was quiet. Do-Hyun sat in the shuttle, watching through the window as they descended through thick purple clouds. The pilot, safely protected in a separate compartment, guided them toward the massive structure that had appeared after the acid storm. When they landed, Do-Hyun could see the structure clearly through the shuttle's reinforced windows. It rose from the ground like a mountain made of metal, its surface covered in glowing blue symbols. The entrance was a tall arch that seemed to shimmer with energy. Ground team is in position, came Hae-Nul's voice through his communication device. All monitoring systems are active. Do-Hyun, please be careful. Do-Hyun stepped out of the shuttle. The planet's harsh environment hit him immediately. The air was thin and cold, but his body, trained for these conditions, adjusted quickly. He walked toward the entrance, each step measured and careful. First barrier approaching, Ji-Woo's voice reported. Temperature rising rapidly. Do-Hyun felt the heat building around him. It reminded him of summer days in Death Valley during his training. Sweat began to form on his skin, but his special clothing helped manage his body temperature. He kept walking. 50 degrees Celsius, someone announced. 60 degrees, 70. Through the heat haze, Do-Hyun saw the alien scientists watching through their protective barriers. Their equipment showed readings that should have meant instant death for any living being. But Do-Hyun kept walking. First barrier passed. Hae-Nul said, her voice filled with amazement. Vital signs are stable. Moving to second barrier. The temperature dropped suddenly. Do-Hyun felt the cold bite into him, but his body responded as it had been trained to do. His muscles worked harder, generating heat. His special clothing, designed for both extremes, helped maintain his core temperature. Minus 40 degrees Celsius, Ji-Woo reported. Minus 50. How is he still walking? Do-Hyun reached the entrance arch. The symbols glowed brighter as he approached, their blue light casting strange shadows. He could feel the energy field that had destroyed so many probes and killed so many researchers. But something was different now. The energy patterns are changing, Hae-Nul said excitedly. The structure is responding to his presence. Do-Hyun stood at the threshold of the ancient building. Behind him, He could hear the amazed voices of the alien scientists as they watched their instruments. Before him lay a mystery that had waited perhaps millions of years to be discovered. He took a deep breath and stepped through the entrance. The energy field sparked around him, but instead of destroying him, it seemed to welcome him. The blue symbols pulsed with light, creating a path deeper into the structure. "I'm inside," Do-hyun reported calmly, beginning exploration of the interior. "And everyone, you're not going to believe what I'm seeing." Inside the structure, Do-hyun found himself in a vast corridor that seemed to stretch endlessly into the darkness. The walls glowed with the same blue symbols he had seen outside, providing enough light to see. His footsteps echoed as he walked forward, each step carrying him deeper into the ancient mystery. "Status report," came Yoon-ji Kang's voice through his communication device. As the mission's security officer, she monitored every aspect of his safety. "How are you feeling, Lieutenant?" "I feel fine," Do-hyun replied, surprised by how true this was. "The temperature is actually quite comfortable in here. The air is breathable. It's almost like—" He paused, looking around. "It's almost like the environment adjusted to match Earth normal conditions." In the command center, Yoon-ji studied her monitors carefully. "Vital signs are completely normal," she reported to the gathered scientists. "Heart rate steady, body temperature optimal, no signs of stress or fatigue." Chief Verithak moved closer to the monitors, his 4 eyes widening. "Impossible. The energy readings in there should be fatal to any living creature. How is he surviving?" Hanul, who stood nearby with her own equipment, smiled slightly. "Because he's not just surviving, Chief. He's meant to be there." She pointed to new readings appearing on her screen. "Look at how the structure's energy patterns have changed since he entered. They're synchronizing with his biological rhythms." Inside the structure, Do-hyun continued walking. The corridor opened into a massive chamber that took his breath away. The ceiling rose so high he could barely see it, and the walls were covered with what looked like screens or windows, each showing different images. "I'm sending video feed now," he said, activating the camera attached to his collar. "Are you receiving this?" In the command center, everyone gasped as the images appeared on their main screen. The chamber Do-hyun had entered was filled with technology unlike anything they had ever seen. But what caught their attention most were the images displayed on the walls. "Those are Earth environments," Ji-woo said in amazement, stepping closer to the screen. "Look, there's a desert, a frozen tundra, a deep ocean trench. They're exact matches for our most extreme locations." Do-hyun approached one of the wall displays. As he got closer, the images changed, showing what appeared to be scenes from another planet, one that looked remarkably like Earth. The scenes showed beings moving through environments that would kill most species in the galaxy. "The predecessors," Haenul whispered. "Their world must have been like Earth. They were Deathworlders too." Chief Verthak's silver skin rippled with excitement. "This is unprecedented. The predecessors have been studied for centuries, but we never knew this about them. We always assumed they came from a world like most other civilized species." Do-hyun reached out and touched one of the displays. The entire chamber hummed in response, and new symbols appeared in the air before him. They glowed with the same blue light as the others, but these began to change, shifting into recognizable Earth languages. "The structure isn't just responding to him," Yoon-ji reported, checking her instruments. "It's adapting to him. The energy patterns are completely different from what destroyed the probes and previous teams." "Because those defenses weren't meant to destroy everything," Haenul said, understanding dawning in her eyes. "They were meant to find someone like us, someone whose species evolved in similar conditions, someone who could understand." In the chamber, Do-hyun watched as more symbols transformed, revealing messages left by the predecessors. "They're giving us access," he said, his voice filled with wonder. All this time, the structure wasn't a death trap. It was waiting for someone who could handle its tests, someone who evolved on a world like theirs. The chamber filled with new light as more systems activated, responding to his presence. Above him, a massive hologram appeared, showing a map of the galaxy. Certain points glowed brightly, locations of other structures like this one, waiting to be discovered. The predecessors left these structures as a legacy, Du Hyun said, understanding now. But they could only trust their knowledge to species that evolved as they did. Species that understood what it meant to survive in extreme conditions. Species like humans. In the command center, aliens and humans alike watched in amazement as more data poured in from the structure. Centuries of mystery were beginning to unravel, all because a human from Earth, a Deathworlder, had walked through what everyone else thought was certain death. The central chamber continued to activate around Du Hyun as more systems recognized his presence. The walls now displayed streams of data in multiple Earth languages, translating the ancient information in real time. Dr. Min Seo Choi, watching through Du Hyun's camera feed, began recording and analyzing everything she could see. The translation is perfect, Min Seo said from the command center, her voice filled with professional excitement. The predecessors must have included Earth languages in their database, almost as if they knew we would eventually find this place. Du Hyun moved toward the center of the chamber, where a large platform had risen from the floor. It glowed with the same blue light as the symbols on the walls. As he stepped onto it, a three-dimensional display appeared in the air around him. The platform appears to be some kind of interface, he reported. It's showing me star maps. Thousands of them. They span different time periods, tracking the movement of stars and planets across millions of years. In the command center, Chief Verthak watched the feed with all four eyes wide open. This is beyond anything we imagined. The predecessors left us a complete record of their astronomical observations. Not just astronomical, Min Seo corrected, studying the data streaming across her screen. Lieutenant Park, try touching one of the star systems in the display. Du Hyun reached out and touched a point of light in the hologram. The display changed immediately, showing detailed information about that solar system. But what appeared wasn't just scientific data. They left stories, Du Hyun said softly, records of their visits to each system, their discoveries, their failures, their achievements. This isn't just a database, it's their history. Min Seo worked quickly at her station, processing the translated information. According to these records, the predecessors explored most of the galaxy. They established research stations on thousands of worlds. But they were always searching for something specific. What were they looking for? He Newell asked, moving closer to Min Seo's screen. Worlds like their own, Min Seo replied. Planets that could produce life capable of surviving extreme conditions. They believe these environments created stronger, more adaptable species. Du Hyun touched another point in the star map. This time, the display showed Earth. They found us, he said. They visited Earth during our early development. They saw the potential in our world's harsh conditions. The chamber hummed with new energy as more information appeared. The walls now showed scenes from Earth's distant past. Ancient oceans, forming continents, early life developing under extreme conditions. The predecessors didn't just find Earth, Min Seo said, reading through the translated data. They protected it. They marked it as a world that could produce a species capable of carrying on their legacy. In the command center, the alien scientists whispered among themselves. The idea that Earth, long considered a dangerous backwater world, had been specially protected by the legendary predecessors was revolutionary. There's more, Du Hyun reported. They left messages specifically for whoever would find this place. Instructions about how to access their other facilities across the galaxy. Star maps showing the locations of their most important research stations. Chief Verthak stepped forward. Lieutenant Park, what you're discovering could change our understanding of galactic history. The predecessors were the most advanced civilization we know of. Access to their complete database would advance our science by centuries. The messages say that's exactly what they wanted, Min Seo said, still translating the stream of data. They knew their civilization wouldn't last forever. So they built these structures, protected by conditions that would select for species like themselves. They wanted to pass their knowledge to those who evolved as they did. Do-hyun stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the light and knowledge of an ancient civilization that had seen humanity's potential millions of years ago. The very things that had made Earth seem like a backward world, its harsh environments, its deadly conditions, its evolutionary pressures, were exactly what had made humans worthy of this inheritance. They left all this for us, he said quietly. Now we just have to prove we're ready to use it wisely. As Do-hyun continued to explore the database in the central chamber, Min-seo made an important discovery. She found a special message, something the predecessors had left specifically for whoever would find this place first. The message began to play through Do-hyun's communication device, filling the chamber with words written millions of years ago. "We were once like you," the message began, translated perfectly into Earth languages. "We came from a world that challenged us every day. Our planet tried to kill us with heat, cold, radiation, and storms. But these challenges made us strong. They made us adapt. They made us survive." Do-hyun stood quietly, listening to the ancient words. In the command center, everyone had fallen silent too. "We explored the galaxy," the message continued. "We found many worlds with life, many intelligent species, but most came from gentle worlds. They never learned to adapt as we did. They never understood what it meant to evolve under pressure. We searched for others like us, but we found very few." Chief Verthak's silver skin rippled with emotion as he listened. The words were changing everything he thought he knew about the predecessors. "Then we found your world," the message said. "We saw your planet's harsh conditions. We saw the early life forms struggling to survive. We saw the potential for a species that could become like us. So we watched. We protected your world from interference. We waited." Hanul looked at her readings from the chamber. "The energy patterns in here," she said softly. "They match Earth's natural background radiation perfectly. They weren't trying to kill anyone. They were looking for someone who could handle the same conditions they evolved in." The message from the predecessors went on. "We knew our civilization would not last forever. No civilization does. But we had learned so much, discovered so much. We could not let this knowledge die with us. So we built these structures across the galaxy. We protected them with the same conditions that shaped us. Only a species that evolved as we did could enter safely." Do-hyun walked around the chamber, looking at the displays showing Earth's history. He could now see small signs of the predecessors' presence, subtle protections they had placed around the young planet, keeping it safe while life evolved. "Your presence in this chamber proves you are ready," the message continued. "You have evolved on a world like ours. You have learned to survive in conditions that other species fear. You have proven yourselves worthy of our legacy." Min-seo continued translating as more data appeared. "According to these records," she reported, "the predecessors didn't die out. They chose to leave this galaxy. They evolved beyond physical form. But before they left, they made sure their knowledge wouldn't be lost." In the command center, the alien scientists began to understand the full meaning of what they were discovering. Humans weren't just accident survivors from a dangerous world. They were the intended inheritors of the most advanced civilization known to the galaxy. "We leave you our knowledge," the message went on. "Our science, our discoveries, our understanding of the universe. Use it wisely. Help other species grow and learn. And remember, what others see as your weakness, your evolution on a deadly world, is actually your greatest strength." The message ended, but the chamber continued to provide access to the vast database. Do-hyun looked at the star maps showing other structures like this one, waiting to be found. The predecessors had left their knowledge in pieces, protected in different ways, waiting for humanity to prove itself ready to collect it all. "Chief Verthak," Do-hyun said, turning to face the camera that connected him to the command center. "I think we're going to need a bigger research team. and more humans who can access these structures. The alien chief nodded slowly, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. Lieutenant Park, I believe you are correct. The galaxy has just become a much more interesting place, and humanity's role in it has become far more important than anyone imagined. 3 months after Du-hyun's historic walk through the alien structure, the Galactic Research Institute had changed completely. What was once a quiet space station now buzzed with activity. Humans from Earth worked alongside alien scientists, sharing their unique abilities and perspectives. Du-hyun stood at his favorite observation window, looking down at the purple-gray planet. Behind him, the corridors were filled with the sounds of busy researchers and excited discussions. The station had doubled in size to accommodate all the new teams. Lieutenant Park, called Hae-Nul, walking quickly toward him with a tablet in her hand. The second structure has been found. It's exactly where the database said it would be. Do-hyun turned from the window. Have they confirmed the environmental barriers? Yes, Hae-Nul replied, showing him the data. The same conditions as this one. High temperature, extreme cold, radiation. Another test for Deathworlders. Chief Verithak approached them, his silver skin gleaming under the station's lights. In the past months, he had become one of humanity's strongest supporters in the galactic community. The Council has approved the expansion of the Human Research Division, he announced. You will have all the resources you need to explore these structures. Thank you, Chief, Du-hyun said. How are the other species responding to our discoveries? Better than expected, Verithak replied. Many were surprised to learn that the predecessors came from a world like Earth. It has changed how they view humans. Your species is no longer seen as primitive survivors from a dangerous world. You are now recognized as the chosen inheritors of the galaxy's greatest civilization. They walked together to the new research center that had been built on the station. Inside, Min Seo was teaching a group of alien scientists about Earth's various environments. Large screens showed images of deserts, frozen tundra, deep oceans, and volcanic regions. Understanding these conditions is crucial, Min Seo explained to her audience. The predecessors used them as keys to their knowledge. By studying how humans adapt to these environments, we can better understand their technology. In another part of the center, Ji-woo worked with a team developing new exploration equipment. They had learned from Du-hyun's success that simpler was often better when dealing with extreme conditions. The predecessors didn't rely on complex protective gear, Ji-woo told his team. They adapted to their environment, just like humans did. Our new equipment should work with natural adaptations, not against them. Yoon-jae entered the research center, carrying reports from the latest expeditions. 4 more potential structures have been detected, she announced, all in systems with conditions similar to Earth. Do-hyun looked at the star map displayed on the main screen. It showed all the locations mentioned in the predecessor's database. Dozens of points of light marked places where more structures might be waiting. Each one promised new discoveries, new knowledge, new understanding of the universe. The predecessors were right, Hae-Nul said, studying the map. They knew that only a species that evolved like they did could truly understand their legacy. They didn't want their knowledge to be used by those who feared the very conditions that shaped them. Chief Verithak turned all 4 eyes to Du-hyun. Your walk through that first barrier has opened a new chapter in galactic history, Lieutenant. Humanity's path from here will be very different from what anyone expected. Do-hyun nodded, remembering the message they had found in the first structure. The predecessors had seen humanity's potential millions of years ago. They had protected Earth, waiting for humans to evolve and develop, knowing that the very things that made Earth seem primitive to other species, its harsh conditions, its evolutionary pressures, its constant challenges, would make humans unique in the galaxy. We have a lot of work ahead of us, Du-hyun said, looking at the gathered teams of humans and aliens working together. The predecessors left their knowledge in pieces across the galaxy. Finding it all will take time. Understanding it will take even longer. But they chose us for a reason. They believed we could handle it. He turned back to the star map, its points of light promising more mysteries to solve, more barriers to cross, more knowledge to discover. What had started as a simple walk through what everyone thought was a death trap had become humanity's gateway to the stars. The Deathworlders had found their true purpose in the galaxy.